So now we can start animating that character. And what I have imagined for this is we start the animation with our ball a little bit behind, maybe even out of frame, and it bounces into the scene, does a couple bounces, comes close to the camera. I'm thinking maybe right here or something, and gives us some funny look. I don't know. We'll see. But before we get to all this character stuff, I think we can treat the character just as a ball and do the bounces. The way you do bouncing ball animation in classic animation, and the way it's meant to be done for characters, is very well described in most of the animation books, like Animator Survival Kit. You can see, and there's a lot of stretching and squashing, and you can see the trajectory of the movement. This is what we want, and this is exactly the reason why I've created the rig the way I did. And to emphasize how important it is to understand how to animate a ball like that, just have a look at the animation of a jumping character. It is following the same principle that a ball does. It squashes, it stretches, it squashes again, stretches. It's exactly the same. It's just described in a little bit different ways, by posing, not by deforming. So let's get to animating it. First, before we can get to we can do that, we need to fine-tune our UI, and I need a timeline. I'll also need a graph editor, and we'll do it one bounce first. That's why I'm gonna make this timeline working time area only 20 frames. And let's start with the ball being in the air. I'm gonna move it a little bit back. So we can, I'm gonna move it a little bit back so we can see the whole jump from the camera view. Maybe if we'll move it like that. And I'm thinking let's start with a top position from here. Before we can move on with the animation, we'll choose the key set that we need, which is location, rotation, scale, and we'll turn on the automatic keyframe insertion. Add keyframe. Select all the objects and set keyframe here, so we have everything in this position. I'll just go to frame 10 and put this ball on the ground. Switch to the side view so we know that it made a contact. Like that. And I'll just have this keyframe, and I'll copy it from 0 to 20 so we get the cycle. Yeah, looks boring, looks awful. And the first thing you always do when you're doing that kind of animation of a bouncing ball or a falling object is you need to correct the curves. If you're having a hard time reading graph editor, this is that the angle of the curve is representing the velocity of the object. When it's parallel to the when it's fully horizontal, the object is not moving. When it's the more it's going to the vertical position, the faster the object is moving. And absolutely vertical would be infinite velocity, but that's not important. There cannot be infinite velocity in a program. So we need to, when the object is falling, it doesn't need to slow down. You see it's going into this horizontal state. We don't need it to slow down. The ball does not know that the floor is approaching, so it cannot slow down. It doesn't have any engines or something. So we need to move these. But right now they're locked, so bear with a. When I press V, I want to switch the keyframe handle type to free. Now I can move them independently. And basically the ball hits its maximum velocity right before it right before it hits the ground. So we want the curves to look like that. It goes to max speed and then reverses it. If we look at it in motion, you can see how much better that looks. Yeah. Okay, and if it was a fully rigid bowling ball, that would be it. Would be done here. But this is our character, and it's a soft ball. So we want to add squash and stretch effect. So the maximum stretch is usually achieved right before the ball hits the ground. So this is the last frame that we have with while the ball is in the air. So let's stretch it out so that it starts touching the floor, and we get this action. And here in this frame it's getting underground because of that stretch. Naturally we need to move it a little bit up, not a little bit, we need to return it to initial position, and we can easily do that by pressing Alt-G. Now here I would like the ball to stay on the ground a little bit because it's jumping off too fast and we need some time for the squash. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna stretch it out. Okay, this frame just needs to be here. We need to have a keyframe here. So as you can see now we get this fun animation of the ball bouncing, and it has so much more character than when we had it with a rigid, when we had it before, when we had it without the squash and stretch effect. I'm thinking maybe we could even exaggerate it even more. Let's give it a try. As you see, I've increased the pause on the top, which is a bit less realistic, but to me seems like more fun.